Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'm proud to introduce you to Joan Gott, a retired music teacher who grew up surrounded by music and attributes her success to hard work and caring for other people. Joan, what a pleasure it is to meet you and chat with you today.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
So I understand the name of your studio is Make a Joyful Noise. There has to be a story behind that name.
Well, there is. It started just out of the blue when I was teaching elementary school at the beginning of the year. The teachers would walk through because I was always on the stage, and they would walk through and they would say, "Johnny, they sound so awful." And I say, "Well, they're only required to make a joyful noise." And that's a biblical reaction. I didn't realize that I was doing it at the moment, but that's where it came from. It is a verse in the Old Testament, actually in Psalms. And so by the end of the year, the kids were able to match pitch, but it wasn't something that I could make them feel badly about themselves. So we just did the best we could until they actually learned to match pitch, which take a while when the kids are starting.
Now, I have to tell you, I was fascinated when I read a bit of your bio, and I found out that you literally grew up where every one of your neighbors was in some way musical. Tell me a little about that.
Well, I grew up in a little village of 250 people that still is 250 people. It's in Butte County up by Chico, California, where the campfire was this last or 2 years ago.
Yes.
And with the particular makeup of that town, all the children began singing in the church choir at age 2 when they were little, and we would do performances for the various seasons of the year. And then when we were 7, we were all given piano lessons, and the piano teacher came in from another town, and we took our turn driving to the church where the piano was, and all had our lessons one after the other all day long on Saturday. And then when we were in the 4th grade, we were all given the opportunity to choose a musical instrument, but basically it was the one that your parents had in the house. So since my mother had a flute, I learned to play the flute. And then when we hit high school, we were marching, and I was in choir there in high school as well as in the church choir. So yeah, we all grew up singing and playing instruments and playing the piano. Everybody did. Every child did. It was a rite of passage.
Joan, I understand you have sort of a two-pronged career in both music and in nursing. So do you identify yourself more as a music teacher or a healthcare professional?
That's hard to really separate because I always worked in Title I schools. And because I saw the children every single year, they opened their mouths and I saw that they need to sing, and I saw that they needed to have dental care. So I would go get the office and say, refer this one out for dental. And I would see kids that couldn't see the music or see the words that they were trying to read as we were singing. And I'd say, send this one off for vision care. And so little by little, I did what I could to help the children that I was teaching, because I was always in Title I schools. So I did a lot of nursing at that point. And obviously now with the COVID-19 thing and having been on the school board, I was using a lot of my public health background to be able to work with what was going on. So yeah, it's hard to separate it. It really is.
I can understand that. As a matter of fact, I have learned from your bio that you actually had a personal experience serving as a medical missionary in your own way. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, I just told you a piece of it.
Yeah.
I had envisioned that I was going to be a medical missionary. And so I continued with my music all the way through college until I hit actual nurses training in the hospital. But while I was taking my pre-med courses, I still continued my piano lessons and voice lessons and organ lessons, and made the nursing people absolutely wild because I was doing that. And I continued because I felt that what I was going to do was go into another area of the world and do my nursing during the week and then play the piano for the services during the weekend or for the evening services or whatever they had, so that I would always be useful. And it turned out that I was in Title I schools the whole time I was teaching it. I had been in my first Title I school, which was the least economically viable school in our district I was there for 12 years, but I'd been there about 5 years when a little child came up and said something to me in Spanish, and I have taken Spanish so that I could speak to these kids just as much as I could possibly learn. And when that child left, I went, oh my gosh, I'm a medical missionary, and I didn't even realize it. I'm right here in California, but I'm working with kids from all over the world that have medical issues that are dreadfully in need of help. And unfortunately, many of those children had health issues that no one had recognized, and their teachers, their classroom teachers, were not medically trained, so they weren't aware of what they were looking at and didn't realize what was happening with some of these kids. But it just, obviously, with my nursing background and my specialty in pediatrics, it made it real easy for me to continue watching them and observing them. And then I would see things that were going on and go, oh, no, that's not right.
Well, that's wonderful to be able to match both of your skill set in such a way that benefited young people, as you've just described. So let's brag a little bit, Joan. What have been some of your major accomplishments as a music educator?
One day, a little Hmong girl came to me, and she walked up and gave me a hug. And I said, Chor, what's going on? Because that was not, something. Well, I mean, they gave me a lot of hugs. I had a lot of hugs from kids, but it was not just expected that she would walk up and give me a hug. And she says, Mrs. Gott, I just love coming to music. And I said, well, why is that, Chor? And she said, because you give us hope. You give us kids hope. You make us feel like we can do anything we want to do. And I thought that was just really precious. Right now, I'm teaching a little girl to sing that can't read. She's in 3rd grade, and she can read nothing. She can't write her name successfully because she's suffering so badly with 4 different forms of dyslexia. And they're having a terrible time sorting out what to do with her. But for me, I taught her to sing, and now she's matching pitch like crazy, and she's just blossoming. But I've been teaching her by rote. So and fortunately, she's got a really good memory. So she's just learned song after song after song. And so now she has a repertoire of 7 songs that she knows completely. And the 8th song we're working on right now. But for her, the growth in her is just tremendous, because now she has self-confidence because she can do something that's wonderful and that everybody loves, because she just goes around the neighborhood singing and singing and singing. And everybody loves to hear her and gives her acclaim for it. Whereas at school, oh boy, it was really, really hard. She's in special classes now, but it's been really tough for her. And I feel that probably the kids that have gone on to music have made me very happy, because some of them have made it their life's careers. And that's a really joyful thing for me, to be able to go and see them prosper and do so beautifully and make such growth in their own lives.
In all the years that I have worked in media and communications, I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone who defined their success in the joy, happiness, and success of others in the way in which you just did. And I have to tell you, it's extremely admirable. But it also makes me ask, what does music mean to you?
Well, for me personally, it gives me great joy, joy. And it also, I still am teaching in my studio, obviously, because I've stopped working at the school districts now. And so I'm teaching at home, and I play every day. Sometimes I play a half hour. Sometimes I'll play for 3 hours a day in practice. But I always try to work on something new and advance my skills and work hard on trying to accompany, because some of the songs that I pick from my choir or my vocal students are very difficult with the accompaniment. So I have to practice every day. And it just brings me personally great joy and great satisfaction to be able to do that. And if I'm feeling badly about something, I'll go in and play songs that are real joyful and happy. My mother used to tell me she could know exactly what was going on with my temperament when I came home from high school by what I went in and played on the piano, because that was the first thing I did when I got home from high school, was go in, and she'd know if I was mad, because I'd play Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C sharp minor, which is just crashing. Or if I was feeling kind of misty and blue, I would play Clair de Lune, Debussy. Or sometimes if I was feeling really, really just kind of edgy, I'd play Chopin. But it just depended on what was going on with me. But for me, music is a mirror of how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life. And it always brings me solace and comfort, always. What I have done in the community is, my husband and I together worked on starting many different nonprofit organizations. One of them was the Solano Choral Society, and we started that. My daughter is 50 years old, and I was pregnant with her when we worked on that one. And it's still functioning and doing really well. We started the Fairfield Civic Theater, and that's still up and functioning. What else did we do? We were on the founding board of the Solano College Theater Association and worked on that for years and years and years, and actually built 2 theaters, which is very, very financially aggravating because it takes so long and it's so hard. Yeah. But we worked on those really very hard for years. We worked on a nonprofit for a ballet company because our foster son was a dancer, and he was a very extraordinary dancer. And then we had our kids doing theater all the time. Either one of them was a set builder. He's our family artist. So we did a lot of those kinds of things. Now what I do is a lot of church work. I'm still doing a lot of church things. And then I have a music organization called Music for Our Children. That's an advocacy organization to try and bring our elementary school music program back into the district again, because it got cut when we had the big financial crash. And it's never been put back together again. It's always a struggle. So I've gathered up a group of friends, and we just proceed on to advocate for music in our district. I support many organizations within the US that are the obvious ones, like St. Jude's and the San Diego Zoo and the Ocean Conservancy, and what else? Heifer Organization. I'm an ambassador for Heifer Organization. So we raise money every year in our church for Heifer.
That's such a great program. And you mentioned that a lot of this stuff you do with your husband. So that leads me to ask, what role, if any, has your family played in your success, Joan?
Well, my family were all musicians. My father was a concert musician, and my auntie was the staff accompanist and a vocal coach at Chico State University. And my mother was also a musician, and her other sister was a musician. So I grew up in music. And my husband is a vocalist, and he's an excellent singer, and was supposed to be an opera singer, according to the people at the college, because they gave him a college scholarship for voice, and he turned it down to be a biology teacher, which just broke their hearts. So he works with me, and I accompany him when he goes out to play or out to sing. So we do a lot of music together, a lot of it.
Magnificent. What a wonderful thing to find that you share that is in common. Joan, as we come to a conclusion, I'd love to know, what's the one thing that you'd like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with today?
Well, I don't think that education in general has realized the value of teaching children music. It's something they can take with them all their lives. It never stops. Like when you play football, you can only play for so long, and then you have to stop and watch it. But with music, you can do it forever until the day you die. You can do something with music. That's what I'm the most happy with, is that I gave these kids joy and hope. And with our foster kids, it was the same thing. They wanted to sing, or they wanted to hum, or they wanted to have all of us sing together, or whatever. And we just did, because it made everybody feel better.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Very, very much, Joan. And, as I was looking forward to our conversation today, I came across this wonderful quote by Francis Clark, that there is music in every child. The teacher's job is to find it and nurture it. And it's so clear that you have just taken that to heart. That is who you are as a human being. It's who you've been as a teacher. And I know that there are thousands and thousands of children who are all the better for it. So thank you so very much.
That's really sweet of you to tell me that. Thank you.